Brace yourselves, folks. A massive wave of grocery shortages is crashing down around us, and it's picking up speed. What's happening isn't speculation or hearsay. This is real, and it's unfolding right now. Wars, catastrophic weather events, and relentless epidemics are wreaking havoc on global supply chains, and the cracks are only getting wider. Everyday staples, pantry essentials, even items you never thought could disappear are vanishing from store shelves. The warning signs are everywhere, but most people aren't paying attention. Rationing signs are popping up, shoppers are staring helplessly at empty aisles, and here's the frightening truth. It's only the beginning. What's coming next is a full-blown food crisis, and it's accelerating so fast it could blindside millions. We've done the research, combed through government reports, industry warnings, and consumer testimonials. What we found is alarming. By the end of March 2025, there are 10 critical grocery items that could be impossible to find. Some of these may already be missing from stores near you. Listen closely, because if you're not prepared, your family could find themselves in a scramble for survival. Stick around, we're counting down the top 10 disappearing grocery items, and you need to know what's at stake. 10. Corn and corn-based foods. You might not think about corn beyond your favorite corn chips or summer barbecue corn on the cob, but here's a terrifying truth. Corn is the backbone of our entire food system. It's teetering on the edge of collapse. No, this isn't a bad dream. Corn shortages are looming, and they could rock your grocery shopping in ways you never imagined. The war in Ukraine, one of the world's leading exporters of corn, has shattered global supply. Ongoing conflict has forced a huge portion of Ukraine's farmland out of production, effectively taking a critical supplier off the market. While experts try to calm fears by claiming we won't see outright shortages, their words don't match the reality. Severe delays and breaks in supply flow are expected to push corn into scarcity. It's a domino effect. Once the first piece falls, the entire system can come crashing down. And corn isn't just about eating it as a vegetable. It infiltrates your life in ways you probably don't realize. That cornmeal in your pantry? At risk. The corn syrup sweetening your snacks? Could vanish. Corn is a primary ingredient in animal feed, meaning fewer animals get fed. And when livestock herds shrink, so does the supply of meat and dairy products. It gets worse. Corn derivatives like cornstarch and corn oil are found in almost every processed food item you can think of. From your favorite soda to cereals, tortillas, and even peanut butter, corn is quietly holding it all together. Signs of trouble are already brewing. Farmers are facing skyrocketing costs for corn feed, forcing them to scale down herds in the face of dwindling resources. On the production line, major food manufacturers are quietly substituting or reformulating their products to weather the coming storm. Some corn-based items are being pulled from shelves entirely without warning. Just imagine walking into your store and your favorite brands of corn chips, frozen corn, or even ketchup being completely gone. 9. Cooking oils. Think cooking oil will always be on your pantry shelves? It's time for a reality check. Major vegetable oils are spiraling into a global shortage, and the crisis is escalating faster than anyone can manage. Sunflower oil, canola oil, soybean oil, palm oil, even olive oil is disappearing. This isn't a temporary squeeze. It's a chain reaction caused by war, weather disasters, and our overburdened food supply system. Ukraine, the world's largest supplier of sunflower oil, has been crippled by war. Ports are blocked, harvesting has slowed to a crawl, and the ripple effects are gutting the worldwide oil market. Major food manufacturers and restaurants that relied heavily on sunflower oil are now scrambling to secure alternatives. Guess what? The substitutes are running out too. Soybean oil stocks are shrinking as producers are pushed to their limits. Droughts in North America have slashed canola yields, while climate-driven heat waves in Southeast Asia have severely impacted palm oil production. Even olive oil isn't safe. Spain, known for its bountiful olive harvest, had its crop nearly halved due to one of the worst droughts in its history. Prices for cooking oil have doubled or even tripled in some areas, with small bottles now costing as much as premium products. The drought rendered land barren, leaving olive trees struggling to survive. Grocery stores in both the US and Europe are limiting how much oil customers can buy. We're not talking about luxurious specialty oils here. We mean basic vegetable oil becoming a rare find. Restaurants, especially fast food chains, are quietly cutting down fried menu items because oil has become so scarce. Some have even stopped frying altogether. Imagine not being able to prepare a simple fried egg or sauté vegetables at home because oil is too expensive or out of stock. This horrifying scenario is closer than you think. The next few months are critical. Cooking oils may become so rare that a single bottle on a store shelf feels like hitting the jackpot. The solution? Act now. Whatever oil you regularly use, grab extra bottles. Don't assume other oils will act as a viable backup because they're all under threat. Warnings are trickling in, but soon they will erupt into chaos as this shortage takes hold. If you're not proactive, you might find yourself stuck with dry frying pans and no way to cook some of your most basic meals. 8. Tomato products. Brace yourself, tomato lovers. Whether it's pizza sauce, marinara for your pasta, or just a trusty ketchup bottle for your fries, all things tomato are in serious jeopardy. Global tomato supplies are collapsing, and the signs are becoming impossible to ignore. What's at stake is so much more than just a slice of pizza or a jar of salsa. Losing tomatoes affects entire cuisines and meal staples around the world. The trouble starts in California, the heartland of America's tomato production. A relentless drought is strangling the state's farms, leaving thousands of acres of tomato plants shriveled and dying in cracked, arid soil. Farmers are cutting their losses, warning that harvests are coming in at a fraction of what they need to meet demand. And the disaster doesn't stop there. On the opposite side of the planet, India's tomato supply has collapsed thanks to freak weather events, from devastating heat waves to relentless rains. The result? A tomato market in complete chaos. Prices in India have skyrocketed by as much as 400%, and in some cases, tomatoes are completely unavailable. The ripple effects are hitting hard. Fast food chains like McDonald's in India have been forced to remove tomatoes entirely from their menus due to sourcing issues. Think about that for a second. A global fast food giant, unable to provide one of its most basic ingredients. Back in the US, we're already seeing shelves with fewer and fewer cans of diced tomatoes, sauce, and paste, while ketchup bottles are shrinking in size and growing in price. Experts are warning that this is just the beginning. With tomato crops struggling and factories getting only a sliver of what they need, scarcity is bound to worsen. Grocery stores in some areas are quietly rationing their canned tomato supplies. Restaurant owners are scrambling, unable to procure bulk tomato paste that was once plentiful and cheap. Pasta nights and pizza parties could soon become a luxury many can't afford. 7. Eggs. Think eggs are just a breakfast staple? Think again. They're quickly becoming the most elusive and expensive item at your local grocery store. What's happening with eggs is unprecedented, and the shortage is escalating faster than anyone expected. Eggs, a food many of us took for granted, are now a scarce luxury, and the situation is spiraling out of control. Blame it on the avian flu, one of the deadliest outbreaks we've seen in years. This relentless virus has already wiped out millions upon millions of egg-laying hens across the United States, and it's showing no signs of slowing down. Just in the first few months of 2025 alone, over 26 million birds have been culled to stop the spread. For every hen lost, that's one less source of eggs on supermarket shelves, and the consequences are spreading like wildfire. Prices are through the roof. Wholesale cartons of eggs are setting jaw-dropping record highs, with reports of prices soaring to as much as $9 per dozen in some places. Retail prices are no better. Grocery stores across the nation have had to impose limits to prevent hoarding, restricting customers to 1 or 2 cartons at a time, if they're even lucky enough to find any eggs at all. The scarier truth? Shelves in some stores are already completely wiped out. This isn't just about your morning omelets anymore. The ripple effects are everywhere. Restaurants, bakeries, and food manufacturers that depend on eggs are scrambling to find solutions. Some bakeries are reporting that their entire operations are at risk of shutting down. Even large-scale food producers are struggling. And for small businesses, the lack of eggs threatens their very survival. What's worse is that even if farmers begin rebuilding their flocks now, it won't fix the problem anytime soon. It takes months for new hens to grow to productive egg-laying maturity. Meanwhile, the avian flu continues to decimate existing flocks. Add to that the skyrocketing cost of chicken feed due to shortages of corn and soybean, and you've got the perfect storm. Here's the bottom line. Eggs are disappearing faster than they can be replaced. At the end of March, empty egg cases could become a hauntingly common sight nationwide. If you find eggs at a reasonable price, stock up within the limits imposed. You might not see any again for weeks, or worse, months. 6. Beef and meat. Where's the beef? Gone. Or at least it will be soon. The crisis surrounding beef production has been building for years, but we're now reaching a tipping point. Beef is sliding into scarcity, and it's not just high prices you need to worry about. The meat aisle is undergoing a drastic transformation, and soon, finding a quality steak or even a basic ground beef package might feel like winning the lottery. The root of the problem? A catastrophic decline in the U.S. cattle population. Ranchers have been grappling with relentless drought conditions for years, and high feed costs have only made matters worse. Many have been forced into impossible choices. Faced with soaring prices for corn and hay, they've had no option but to sell off their herds prematurely. Now, those decisions are coming back to haunt us. According to the American Farm Bureau, the U.S. cattle herd is officially the smallest it has been since 1951. That's a more than 70-year low. This isn't just an industry statistic. It's an ominous warning of what's to come. When you have fewer cows, you inevitably get less beef. And rebuilding herds takes years, not weeks or months. This supply crunch is already making its presence felt. Beef prices skyrocketed in 2024, hitting record highs, with average costs climbing above $8 per pound for the first time in history, and the trend hasn't slowed down. Now, basic ground beef that once cost $3 or $4 per pound creeps closer to $7 or more in many stores. Premium cuts like steaks and roasts have all but become luxuries, reserved for only the wealthiest shoppers. It doesn't end with retail prices. Wholesale suppliers are warning of reduced allocations, meaning grocery stores and restaurants alike are receiving less beef than they ordered. This is why your grocery store may look particularly empty, or why fast food chains are reportedly toying with the idea of cutting beef items off their menus. If you think the ripple effect stops with beef shortages, think again. Corn and soybean shortages are squeezing the entire livestock industry, meaning pork, chicken, and other meats are also feeling the crunch. Farmers can't afford to keep herds and flocks fed, and that scarcity will eventually reach your dinner plate. The meat crisis will only deepen as the months go by, so here's a tip. If you have space in your freezer, start stocking up. Ground beef, steaks, roasts, even chicken and pork if you can manage it. The opportunity to find meat at reasonable prices may be slipping away faster than anyone wants to admit. 5. Sugar. Got a sweet tooth? You're about to have a very bitter wake-up call. Sugar, one of the world's most essential commodities, is in the throes of a global shortage. From cookies and candies to soft drinks and baked goods, this crisis is threatening to wipe out sweetness from your pantry, your fridge, and your life. Look at where it all began. The Philippines had a poor sugar harvest back in 2022, creating a shortfall that sent shockwaves across global markets. But instead of resolving the issue, things have only gotten worse. By 2024, even sugar powerhouses like India and Brazil began to curtail exports. India went as far as outright banning sugar exports last year, a move that they're expected to maintain well into 2025. Brazil, dealing with strange weather patterns and erratic rainfall, also reduced its exports to safeguard its domestic supply. Layer on droughts impacting Latin America's sugarcane fields, and it's clear this isn't just a temporary blip, it's a full-fledged crisis. The global shortage has triggered panic worldwide. Sugar prices have soared, hitting levels not seen in over a decade. Nations all over the world have scrambled to ration sugar supplies or tap into emergency reserves. And here in the US, we are far from immune. We've skirted by in the past by relying on imported sugar, but with that imported supply now dwindling and prices spiking, this strategy is no longer enough. Bakers and food manufacturers are already feeling the strain. Candy makers are warning that they may be forced to slash production if raw sugar supplies continue to thin. Some soda companies are reportedly experimenting with reformulating their products to cut down on sugar usage. What does that mean for you? Higher prices for your favorite treats, and in some cases, empty shelves where sugar was once plentiful. This sugar shortage isn't just about simple granulated sugar either. Brown sugar, powdered sugar, and other derivatives are also at risk, and with every failed sugarcane harvest, things are getting exponentially worse. If you bake regularly or rely on sugary foods, you need to act now. Stockpile extra bags of sugar before the prices climb even higher and availability plummets further. Without rapid intervention, March 2025 could be the month sugar disappears from stores entirely. Imagine coffee without your morning sweetener, no more late-night desserts, and a bleak future for baked goods. It's not just a possibility, it's a growing reality. Prepare now or prepare to go without. 4. Wheat, flour, bread, pasta, and cereal. Picture this nightmare for a moment. You walk into your grocery store, head to the bakery section, and are greeted by bare shelves where bread used to be. No flour, no pasta, no cereal, not a single thing made from wheat. While it might sound extreme, this grim reality is closer than you think. Global wheat supplies, the backbone of so many staples, are being crushed under a series of catastrophic events. It all starts with the ongoing Ukraine war. This conflict has shattered one of the world's major grain corridors, halting shipments that countless nations rely on. To make matters worse, when Russia tore up a key grain export deal, European bread baskets were unable to move their wheat. That caused global wheat prices to explode overnight. The result? Governments are responding with panic, and some countries have banned wheat exports outright, hoarding what little they have to protect their own food security. And it's not just about higher prices. A true wheat shortage means no bread on shelves, no crackers to munch on, no pasta for dinner, and no cereal for breakfast. What used to be basic affordable groceries are disappearing one by one. The USDA is already reporting that U.S. wheat stockpiles are hovering near historic lows. Another supply shock, even a minor one, could send the entire system plummeting into chaos. This problem isn't just theoretical, it's already unfolding. Flour could become the next panic buy item, much like toilet paper during the pandemic. Shoppers across the country are starting to stockpile baking essentials, fearing they'll no longer be available in the coming months. And this doesn't just affect home kitchens. Bakeries, restaurants, and food manufacturers are bracing for the fallout as their supplies dwindle. Here's what makes the wheat crisis so terrifying. Without wheat, staples like pasta, sandwich bread, or even baked snacks could disappear entirely. Forget ready-made solutions. This is about losing the basics that sustain entire diets. Imagine dining options narrowing to an exclusive selection of overpriced alternatives only a few can afford. The warning signs are flashing bright red, and preparation is key. If you haven't already, stock up on flour, dried pasta, and other wheat-based products now. Get those crackers, oats, and cereal boxes while you still can, because by the time March ends, they could be as rare as gold bars at your local store. This isn't hyperbole. It's the dangerous trajectory we're on. 3. Milk and dairy. Got milk? By March, you might not. The alarming truth is dairy farmers across the United States are ringing the alarm bells, warning of a milk shortage that's barreling toward us fast. While milk has long been a household staple, it's inching dangerously close to becoming a hard-to-find item, and the chain reaction this will cause is nothing short of devastating. The factors driving this crisis are mounting daily. Labor shortages are hitting dairy farms hard. There just aren't enough workers to care for cows, transport milk to processing plants, or manage distribution efficiently. Add to this the skyrocketing cost of feed, as corn and soybean shortages continue to strain supply chains. Farmers are being squeezed from every direction, and many small dairies have reached their breaking point, closing after months of financial loss. Then there's the dwindling dairy herd itself. According to USDA data, the number of milk-producing cows is dropping, and their output per cow is falling as well. Nutritional issues caused by limited access to feed and water during recent droughts have stunted production, leaving farmers with fewer resources to meet rising demand. Combine this with a rebounding interest in dairy after years of plant-based alternatives surging in popularity, and you've got the makings of an all-out crisis. Shoppers are already reporting signs of milk stress. Dairy cases in some stores are half empty, and certain areas are seeing purchase limits imposed on milk products. But milk is just the tip of the iceberg. A milk shortage means far less butter, cheese, yogurt, and cream down the line. For families with kids who rely on milk as a daily staple, this is an absolute nightmare. Industry experts are prepping consumers for the worst, even suggesting stocking up on powdered milk or trying shelf-stable plant-based alternatives as a contingency plan. This isn't a soft hint. It's a siren blaring that the milk supply chain is cracking under the pressure. This challenge won't resolve anytime soon. Milk doesn't magically appear overnight, and the infrastructure to rebuild these lost dairy herds will take months, if not years. If you rely on milk, butter, or any dairy product, take precautions now. Fill your cart with an extra carton, or pick up long-life milk substitutes while you still can. The alternative is walking into your store soon, only to find the milk aisle wiped out, with nothing left to fill your cereal bowl. 2. Coffee. Coffee lovers, are you sitting down? Because your favorite fuel for mornings, late nights, and everything in between is becoming an endangered commodity. A global coffee crisis is brewing. And this isn't just a case of higher prices. No, this is far worse. A perfect storm of disasters has pushed coffee supplies to the brink, and we're staring down a future where your go-to cup of joe becomes a rarity. The triggers for this crisis are overwhelming, starting with Mother Nature herself. Brazil, the world's largest coffee producer, faced catastrophic droughts, scorching heat, and erratic weather patterns over the past year. Coffee plants are particularly sensitive, and these extreme conditions have devastated harvests. Trees that should have thrived for over 15 years are dying prematurely, and yields are collapsing. The story is similar in Vietnam, the second-largest coffee producer. Chaotic storms and floods halved their usual crop in 2024, cutting the supply of Robusta beans, the key ingredient in many instant coffees, by 50%. But this isn't just about unpredictable weather. Supply chain breakdowns, deforestation regulations, and pandemic aftershocks are creating the perfect disaster scenario for coffee. Shipping bottlenecks have stranded valuable coffee supplies at ports, while new European rules on sourcing materials tied to deforestation threaten to derail international trade. At every stage, coffee beans are harder and harder to acquire. The numbers don't lie. Global coffee prices have soared 147% since 2024, reaching levels we haven't seen since the 1970s. Retailers are shrinking coffee can sizes while hiking prices to hide the real impact. Specialty coffee shops are cutting back on offerings, while major brands are quietly scaling down options. Store shelves are looking emptier by the week, and by March your local grocer's coffee selection might be a shadow of what it once was. What's worse is that even switching to alternatives like tea isn't as straightforward as you might hope. Climate change is creeping into tea-producing regions, making it harder to rely on this substitute. If you're someone who runs on coffee, the warning is clear. Stock up now on vacuum-sealed beans or long-lasting coffee grounds. Waiting too long could mean waking up to a coffeeless world, a thought that sends shivers down the spine of every caffeine lover. 1. Sriracha and spices. Here's a chilling thought, folks. Even your condiments aren't safe. Food shortages are no longer limited to staples like meat, dairy, and grains. They've reached deeper into your pantry. This time, it's our beloved sriracha, and a growing list of spices that are vanishing before our eyes. The iconic green-capped bottle of Hoi Fong sriracha hot sauce is practically extinct in stores, and if you think it's just a one-off issue, think again. This is a flashing red signal for wide-reaching trouble in the spice world. The infamous sriracha shortage didn't show up overnight. It's been steadily brewing, sparked by a catastrophic chili pepper crop failure. Severe droughts crushed red jalapeno harvests across Mexico and parts of the U.S. Southwest last year, cutting off the lifeblood of Hoi Fong's production line. If that wasn't enough, Thailand, another major pepper producer, suffered its own agricultural losses, deepening the crisis. Hoi Fong Foods had to all but halt sriracha production for months, and even now, with limited operations resuming, they've admitted they have no idea when they'll stabilize their inventory. This isn't just a pinch, it's a full-blown disaster for hot sauce fans. Sriracha has become a prized commodity, with scarcity driving prices to absurd levels. Once a humble $2.99 grocery store staple, bottles of sriracha are now being scalped online for $20, $50, and in extreme cases over $100. One 17-ounce bottle was seen listed for an outrageous $150 on auction sites. Stores that do manage to get supplies are rationing them, selling just one bottle per customer if they're lucky enough to restock at all. But here's where it gets scarier. This isn't just about sriracha or hot sauce. It's a spotlight on a far bigger issue. Climate change is wreaking havoc on agriculture, and spices are especially vulnerable. Pepper crops can't withstand these extreme weather swings, and the same goes for other seasonings like garlic, onion powder, and even mustard seeds, all of which have had their own brush with scarcity recently. Herbs, too, are being decimated by unpredictable growing conditions and fragile supply chains. France experienced a startling mustard shortage last year after failures in mustard seed crops. Garlic prices spiked after weird weather patterns disrupted harvests in key regions. What all this tells us is that our modern food system can't handle instability. When one region falters, it sets off a chain reaction, threatening the availability of everything from basic spices to specialty condiments. Hoi Fong Foods has called the sriracha crisis an unprecedented inventory shortage, and they're right. Fans are scouring stores, swapping tips on where to find the last few bottles, and even trying to make their own DIY versions. Yet nothing truly compares to that iconic blend of fiery heat and tangy sweetness that's lit up meals for decades. If you're one of the lucky few who happens to stumble upon a bottle of sriracha on store shelves, don't hesitate, grab it before it's gone. But don't stop there. Take a hard look at your pantry. Those jars of spices, your favorite sauces and seasonings, the flavors we all take for granted, they're not as safe as they once felt. This is the new normal. Sriracha's crisis is a warning we can't afford to ignore. Today, it's hot sauce. Tomorrow, it could be the garlic for your favorite pasta dish or the cinnamon that spices up your morning oats. The spice aisle as a whole is on shaky ground, and it's time to recognize how fragile even the smallest parts of our food system truly are. Conclusion: the grocery landscape is changing faster than anyone could have anticipated. From coffee to condiments, spices to essential pantry staples, the fragility of global supply chains, unpredictable weather, and mounting environmental pressures are exposing the vulnerabilities in our food system. While it's tempting to hope these shortages are temporary, the trends suggest otherwise. Now is the time to prepare, stock up on key items, support sustainable practices, and be mindful of the challenges facing agriculture worldwide. The shelves may not look the same in the coming months, but taking proactive steps can help you weather the storm and adjust to this new reality.